Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at mediuminthemiddle. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 48 of the Medium in the Middle podcast. So I was just logging into where I distribute the podcast, and I was thinking that I'm almost at a year. So I was like, I wonder when my year is. And I know it's sometime this month. And guys, it was on August 13th. I missed my podcast birthday. So happy 1 year, Medium in the Middle. Like 1 year. My podcast has been around for 1 year. I literally just found this out. So I'm soaking it all in and I just can't believe it. Because there's definitely a few weeks we missed episodes. So we're not at week 52. But oh my gosh, happy birthday to me and my podcast, my little baby. Okay, so in honor of my 1 year, a little bit over, podcast, I have a great story for you guys, a little bit of a different style. I'm going to present it this week to just mix it up. And I'm super stoked. This client was awesome, and she actually took the notes this time. And I had to email her and ask for them because I am the worst. I'm always like, I'll remember. And then I went to go do the episode and I was like, I forget everything. Sometimes it just happens where when I'm channeling, I don't remember what I say. And I didn't write anything down right away. So thank gosh she had pages of notes and she was kind enough to email them to me. So I'm going to say the experience from her side instead of my side. So I'm going to read her notes instead of my notes, which is super cool. So before we begin with that experience, I am going to pull a card from the Colette Baron Reed Enchanted Map Deck. So when I do pull a card for the listeners, I always ask, what do we need to know? Do we need a little guidance? What do we need to hear? And we'll see what I get. Ooh, I've pulled this card before, card number 7, Into the Unknown. So I'm just going to get the card description again. So the mini description is trust and all will be revealed. The full card description. Life is an adventure, and often new opportunities will arise that you won't know how to deal with. This is one of those times. You're required to trust that this new phase will reveal wonders and miracles as you step into unknown territory. Imagine that you are not only a pathfinder, but a path maker. Whatever your inquiry, trust that you'll be safe. Stay aware as you discover new and marvelous territories and valuable treasures. So it's funny, we were doing yoga in a art gallery, and at the end of class, the teacher pulled a card for all of us, and I got the eagle card, and there's also a giant picture of an eagle right beside me, and the description of the card was similar to this one. So I don't know what the cards are trying to prepare me for, but I'm a little scared. So I don't know what's happening, but everything's just like, you're going to be ready, whatever you have to deal with. You're coming into big transformation. Big things are happening. So I hope it's good, but I'm ready, kind of. Not really. Let me know, universe, like what's going on? I know they won't, so all I get is cards, and that's fine. We'll figure it out. I'll keep you all posted. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. My name is Stephanie. I release episodes every Tuesday, and if you are an iTunes user, I would love a rating and a review. It really helps me out in the podcast world to help people find the podcast, what helps me grow. And if you are a new listener, I do offer Distance Reiki Sessions and Akashic Record Readings online. You can book that with me from anywhere in the world on my website, themediuminthemiddle.com. All the links will be below in the show notes as well. And at the time of recording, I still have 2 spots in my Reiki Level 1 online course for September 26th and 27th. But I don't know how long they will be available for, so don't quote me on that. I am thinking of doing another one in the fall, so if you missed out on these 2 dates, I think I'm going to do another one, so do not worry. Okay, so I'm excited to share this story, and this is a recent story. We're jumping ahead a little bit. I get really excited when cool things happen, and I just want to tell you now. I feel like I've been telling past stories for so long, and now I'm just like, oh, this happened. I want to tell the podcast. Okay, so this story happened. This is how it started. A woman booked for an in-person Reiki session. Easy. So then I get an email from her, and she was discussing about whether or not she should do it in person or distance because she lives a little far away from Banff, and she was wondering what she should do. So I wrote her back, and I said, I can switch it to distance Reiki if you wanted, kind of let me know. I told her about the differences, and then she emailed me back, and she said, oh my God, you replied so timely. She said that she lost her mind when she heard that I was Canadian, and then she heard that I lived in Banff. And this was the cutest. She said, I envisioned you down the street from Monica in San Diego, occasionally lunching with Tyler Henry in LA for the first few episodes. She said, I'm feeling seriously lucky right now that you're in my backyard. And I laughed, and I was like, I wish I was lunching with Tyler Henry. Tyler Henry, if you want to go for lunch, I'm in Banff. So anyway, so we just discussed whether or not in-person or distance would be most beneficial for her to figure out what was best, if she should make the drive or if she should stay. This was right a few weeks after we were given permission to reopen, so COVID was still very much a thing, and I totally understood and just wanted to make sure that she was comfortable. So I wrote her back and I said, haha, I wish I was lunching with Tyler. And then I just explained a few more things. Anyways, between the emails, we decided that she was going to make the drive and come to Banff to have her in-person Reiki session. So the day of her appointment came. To be honest, I don't look at whose appointment it is until it's like right before they're coming. And I try to tune into their energy before they arrive. So this woman came, and I had known her because we were emailing. So I said, hello, like, nice to meet you. And she was very sweet and kind. And I explained how Reiki works. I explained how I work and kind of got going. She did say at the beginning that she was open to messages and kind of whatever happened. And I said, okay, like, thanks for letting me know. And she said that she had just started listening to my podcast like 2 weeks prior. And I was like, oh, wow. And like, you already booked an appointment? Like, that's so cool. So I started doing my Reiki, and I'm going to go off of her notes now because, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't write any notes. So I like to give the details. I want to be correct. And you guys know I like to provide you with the receipts. So here they are. So a little backstory, by the end of the session, after everything had happened, I was like, oh my God, this is so going to be a podcast story. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I don't want to give it away, but what had happened at the end of the session, I was like, of course I'm going to make this a podcast story. Like, this is crazy. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, that's incredible. I'm so excited to hear my podcast episode. So fast forward to now, when I'm doing the podcast episode, I emailed her and I said that I unfortunately blanked out. I didn't write anything down. And do you have any details that you remember from the session? I just want to make sure the episode is as accurate as possible and that I'm the worst. I always tell myself that I will remember and I don't write it down. And then, of course, I don't remember. We're going to call her Claire. So Claire comes back and she says that she has taken over the Little Black Book duties and she has 8 pages of written notes. So I want to kind of stick with her timeline because it was really interesting to experience the session from like the sitter's side. So even though I was definitely there for the session, it's just these are her notes and what she remembers. And they're far more detailed than anything in my Little Black Book. But reading them back, it was a very cool experience for me as well to see what people experience when they're on my table. So I'm going to be reading you all the information that she emailed to me, and then I'll also explain it as we go. So she even has at the top of the notes It says July 16th, 2020, medium in the middle. Found Stephanie on Spotify. Assumed she was from the States. Heard about Calgary to Edmonton flight. In one of my earlier episodes, I talk about a flight between Calgary and Edmonton. Then she heard that I said I was moving out west and that I moved to Banff. Then I had an opening on the same day that she had a canceled appointment, and then we communicated via email. So that's kind of where we are now. So these notes are from what happened in the session. Told Stephanie I was open to messages. While doing the Reiki session, Stephanie said she had a stocky father figure she thought to be from my father's side. Was acting like a protective bridge over me, as if to say no one can touch my little girl. I asked her to describe him, and Stephanie said she was shorter than her and had a belly. It was Grandpa Gino. This was the first person to come through for her, was her grandpa. He didn't say much, actually. He just kind of like came through. So that's where that story came from. So I'm going to continue to read the notes. So Claire let Stephanie continue to work, and I didn't say anything about mom yet. Stephanie said I had a really heavy weight on my chest and heart, and she said that there was a lot of change going on in my life, and things weren't clear. She said she also felt I carried a lot of shame and blame. Claire told Stephanie I was off of work for a PTSD incident, and she didn't want to go back to work, and that last summer her mom also passed away. Stephanie said that 2 women were stepping forward after she had given me this information. She said one had a lot of hair, sort of like big hair. One was like a best friend, very close and fun. She also had a side smile. She said the other one was short and probably the cutest little old lady she had ever seen with shortest hair on her head, and she was beaming bright yellow. She wrote down here, Stephanie cried 2 times. Your mom is making me cry. She did. I did cry. I tried not to, but I know I broke my rule. So she wrote here, Mom's message. Keep talking to me. I'm always here. I am looking at you through the kitchen window when you look outside and when you look out your bedroom window. There was a yellow dish that she was showing me, and I asked her if her mom had a yellow dish, and she said, yeah. Mom indicated 2 kids. Mom said, I'm okay with the timing of my passing, although it's difficult for you, Mitch, and Dad. Oh, that's what makes sense. Okay, so I said that she has 2 kids, and she said yes, and then even reading these back, I'm like, I didn't realize I said that much detail. So going back to the notes. Mom said, quit feeling guilty that you didn't get to see my body. It's okay, and I didn't want you to remember me that way. So I remember this was a really big deal because the mom kept making me feel like Claire didn't see me before she passed. And I was like, did you not get to see your mom's body? I don't understand. There seems to be some incompletion there. And she said, yeah, with the way the accident happened, she wasn't able to see her mom's physical form before she after she passed. So the mom wanted to really make sure that she felt okay with this and saying she didn't want her to be remembered that way. So I'm going back to the notes now. Mom said, I know you want to memorialize me in some way, plant a tree, or do something official. And I know you want to, and it's okay that you haven't done it yet. And I know that you will later on. So she was just talking about kind of that Claire wanted to do something for her, but she hadn't done it yet. And Claire was beating herself up about it because she hadn't gotten around to do this thing yet. I think it was a tree, or I forget exactly what it was. And her mom was just saying it's okay that you haven't done this yet. I know your intention and I know you will. It's okay. Don't hold yourself to such a high standard. And then back to the note here, it said, your relationship will continue to get better. Your mom really likes your partner. So this was about Claire's relationship. They were kind of on the up and up. So her mom's it's going to keep going this way. And her mom really approved of this person. And then I said, an aunt is of significance, but I couldn't establish a message. So there was another person that was trying to come through, but I couldn't get enough information. So I just kind of left it there. So this would have been the 4th spirit trying to come through. So the grandpa, her grandma, who was from 2 different sides. So the grandpa was dad's side, grandma was mom's side, mom. And this was an aunt, but I couldn't get any information on the aunt. And then she wrote down, she did highlight 2 sisters and a brother, but I said it's just 2 sisters. So that's just an example of a piece of information that wasn't correct. But she still wrote it down because I always say it could make sense later on. So then it says here in the notes, so I started to say, there's something honoring your mom in your garden. I'm not sure what it is, but it looks like a plaque of some sort. Your mom likes it and she knows that it's there and it's connected to her memory. So I was acknowledging that Claire had put something in her garden for her mom. And Claire said, can you like show me the shape of it with your hands? And then I drew out this like kind of long motion, like almost like a long rectangle kind of thing. And she drew it in the photo. And then later I found out she kind of freaked out on the table and I didn't know what was happening. And then she said, it's a feather. There is an iron feather in the garden in memory of my mom. She's like, there's no way you could have known the shape of that feather. She's like, you drew it with your hands. I just saw you. And it was like a really big deal for her, that piece of information. And that was really cool for me because I was like, oh, cool. Like to me, it looks like a plaque. Like I wouldn't have never known it was a feather. But when I showed her with my hands, like I guess whatever image I did to her represented what it looked like. She ended up sending me a picture right after the session to show me actually what the plaque looked like because she was like, there's no way you could have known that was in my garden. So then the messages keep going from her mom. And I said, your dad is really sad at night and he cries for your mom before bed. And then there was just some more notes here about the mom's personality that I brought through. So Steph could tell that mom had a good, quick sense of humor, arms crossed over chest. Her last message was no issues currently about connection with her sister, but it's the most important thing for her mom that Claire and her sister stay connected, and she really wanted them to remain close contact with each other. Okay, so then at the end of the session, I got into kind of like, she writes it down here as a psychic moment. So this is what I said to Claire. Everything will become so much clearer in September for her. And she told me that was when she was either supposed to be going back to work or not. And then strength clicking together, fulfillment, joy, ability to reach out of the valley of pain and despair, resources to make confident decisions towards new direction. Stephanie sees a new direction for me. Oh, that's cool. I usually try not to go too psychic on people, but it always sneaks in. There's always something I just need to say. But this I think she really needed to know because it was kind of like more clarity is coming. You'll know things more in September. And she was like, yeah, that's when I need to decide if I'm going back to work or not. And then based on her decisions, different things will happen. That's what happened in the session. So 3 souls came through. We were doing Reiki. We were talking to Grandpa. We were talking to Mom. We were talking to Grandma. And at the end of the session, she said, do you want to see pictures of them? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, do you want to see pictures of my grandpa, grandma, and my mom? And I was like, oh, you have pictures with them with you? And she was like, yeah, of course. She's like, I brought them with me. She's like, I was hoping they would come through. And I was like, what? And she was like, well, yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? She's like, she was kind of confused about why I was freaking out. And she was like, yeah, why? And I was like, you're telling me that you've had the pictures of the 3 people that came through in your purse and all 3 of them came through during your sessions, and now you're going to show me the picture of the 3 people that have come through? I'm like, that's insane. It's kind of like, you know when people hide a ring in their pocket and they're waiting for you to tell them about the ring, and then you tell them and they're like, oh my God, the ring's in my pocket. This is kind of the same thing. She had the pictures in her purse waiting for these 3 people. And it's not like she had any other pictures. Like she just put those pictures in her purse of these 3 people. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, so she starts showing me and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what like the grandpa looks like. And I was like, oh my God, like her mom's hair was just like, I was describing it as big, but when she showed me the picture and I was like, oh, like I get it now. Like what I was seeing is just like the way her hair was. And her grandma was the cutest thing ever. So it was really cool when she pulled out these photos. This is what she wrote in the notes to kind of give you her side of the story. Claire said, I showed Stephanie the pictures. When she showed me her grandpa's photos, Stephanie's eyes popped out of her head. Stephanie said, oh my God, that's exactly what he looks like. Mom, exactly this picture, because she had a few different photos of her mom, and I was like, no, she looks like this one when she appeared to me. And then she showed me her grandma, and I said that she looked a little bit younger and she had curls in her hair. That's what really blew my mind, was that she came in expecting Reiki. We booked for Reiki. We didn't talk about any mediumship before the session and the emails. She came in. She just said she was open for messages. Her grandpa came through. Then her mom and grandma came through. And then at the end of the session, she pulls out the photos of those 3 people from her purse and says, do you want to see what they look like? And I was just like blown away that all 3 of them came through, because in my course we were practicing multiple souls and trying to figure out like what each soul was saying. So anyway, so I was really blown away that all 3 of them came through. And then at the end of the session, this was really, really funny for me. I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I need to hug you. Like, is that okay? Like, I didn't know if I should hug her. I usually don't hug clients. And she turns and she looks at me and she said, but you don't like hugs. And I was like, you listen to the podcast. But I didn't know that I mentioned that in the podcast, but I'm not a hugger. Like, I'm not the kind of person where every time I see my friends, I hug them. Like, I usually try not to hug people. It's just an energetic thing, like nothing personal, but energetically, I just don't like touching people often. So she was like, yes, I'll give you a hug. And I was like, this was such an experience. Like, I feel like I have to hug you. Like, we just had this cool experience where you had the pictures of the 3 people in your purse and they all came through and like they did a great job. Like, her mom was talking a lot and she gave a lot of information. There was even more than what was in the notes, like now that I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to say anything that's not correct, especially because it's so recent and it means a lot to Claire, I know. So I wanted to share that story because it was really cool for me. It was the first time like 3 people came through very strongly. They all described what they looked like. They all had different messages. And then the person had their photos in their purse, like blew my mind. So I just had to share that with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Just another day in the life of a developing medium who does Reiki for a living and has souls pop up almost every single time. If you would like to stay connected with me, you can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, Medium in the Middle. And all the links will be linked down below. Again, if you want to make an appointment with me, you can do so on my website. And I release new episodes every Tuesday, so I will see you all next week. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.